Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. There's a lot to react to. KNBR, they just had their little interview with Kyle Shanahan. It was live a few minutes ago, and they finally posted up, the full interview on their radio today with Kyle Shanahan, and they basically asked them everything we needed to know about the whole Trey Lance, Sam Darnold situation. And there's a lot to react to. I mean, holy smoke, man. Jeremiah, what's up? It's up. Stephen Reynolds, Key, Shandolph, what's up, man? Shalonda Metcalf, what's up, everybody? I can't even think right now. I can't even think. Jeremiah says that was crazy, man. They want to use him as third string. I don't see him accepting that. And again, Kyle did talk about that. We'll talk about all this stuff. And he mentioned how he talked to Trey this morning, and part of that conversation is why Trey didn't practice today. I'm sure Trey was probably pissed. I'd be like, "Fuck, man, like, you don't believe me, Kyle?" Like that's my instant reaction when I saw all this news. Like he doesn't believe in Trey, and I'm sure Kyle probably told him, "Hey, man, take your time, clear your head," and that's what Kyle told us. So let's talk about it. So Kyle Shanahan said this morning he had Trey come into his office and he says, "Let's talk about it." And he told him straight up that Sam Darnold won the QB job, the QB2 job. He won QB2, right? Um, and I could imagine if I was told that, like if someone else took the job as I'm going for. Like imagine you're at work and your boss tells you, "Hey man, I know you were looking for this job, the supervisor role or whatever. We're gonna go with Sam Darnold or whoever your Sam Darnold is, the other guy you're competing against, right? We're gonna go with Billy Bob over there, and he's gonna be QB2 or he's gonna be the night shift manager." You're gonna be a little pissed off because you've worked hard to get that position. They brought you in to possibly be the top guy, and now you're like behind that guy, and it's frustrating. So I can imagine Trey was probably feeling a certain way. He's a young guy, and mentally that's going to be tough because he came into this team high expectations. He got hurt, came back from injuries, and then he tried to fight it out, and he got named the starter last year. Then he got hurt again, and then this year he came in and he tried to battle his way and he fought hard, and you lose the position. It's tough. Just Young says just the fact that you traded all of that draft capital to move up in the order to pick him at 3. I know it doesn't sit well with people, and it's crazy. So Kyle went on to say a lot of things. He said a lot of it had to do with the injuries. He says we've given him opportunities. The broken finger, he mentioned the broken finger specifically in his rookie year. He says when Trey broke his finger, it took away from his first year. Like he really was high on that. He really mentions that a lot. I think at that point when Trey broke his finger, looking back at everything, because you brought him in to replace Jimmy Garoppolo, who's an injury-prone quarterback in his own right, unfortunately. Right? Jimmy Garoppolo had a lot of injuries. So you bring in this young guy, Trey, and he gets injured his first year. I bet you that pissed Kyle off and rubbed him the wrong way. He's like, we brought this guy in to replace the guy that's always hurt, and now he's hurt. I guarantee you that kind of lingered in Kyle's mind because he always brings up that finger. Right? And he says, this is what he says. He says, we gave Lance a big chance to win that 2 spot this year. He says it was a very tough fight, but in the long run, Sam ended up winning. Like that's what he says. He says it was a tough fight, and Sam just won. Sam just won. Like what did he do to win? And then he mentioned in his his little interview there, he said that Sam separated himself from Trey about 10 days ago. So if you look at everything, if you look at the whole timeline, 10 days ago, that's preseason week 1. So were they neck and neck in training camp, according to Kyle? And then preseason week 1, the 3 and out game for Trey, was that enough to say, oh, yep, we can't have this guy because he's too slow? The 49ers don't want to get off to slow starts, and I think that's where it is. And I think that was the key because what have we talked about over the last couple of months with the 49ers? We have to get off to a hot start. We have to get to a hot start. We can't afford to take any lows. We can't take time to sit here and find a rhythm. And we know Trey's a rhythm quarterback. So in the worst case scenario, if Brock Purdy were to go down or something and you need to have, your backup, I think Kyle wants to have a guy that's not going to have to sit there and find a rhythm or start slow. And I think with Sam, he feels a little bit more safe. And I think that game was his indication. I think that's where my opinion on where Kyle's mind is. I'm trying to read his mind because honestly, one preseason game, that's where your head is. Now look at the second game. Like Sam Darnold didn't have this overly impressive game. Trey, he started slow, but he came out the gates in that fourth quarter and he played good. So it's tough, man. That Trey is where he's at. I think we all wanted him to succeed. But again, Kyle said it was a tough competition. And 10 days ago is when Sam separated himself. And that's according to Kyle. That's according to Kyle. So, yeah. The, so yeah, then he went on to say that today that Kyle Shanahan, so basically Kyle Shanahan acknowledged that Trey Lance was not practicing because of a result of the conversation that he had this morning with Trey. Again, I'm sure it was a tough conversation to have. Shanahan said he told Lance to take the day off, get away, and they felt like it was the best thing for Lance. So he told him, man, clear your head, go do what you got to do, go clear your mind. That's what Kyle told him. Like, go clear your mind. Like, he gives him this shitty situation. You're our third string quarterback right now. You're not QB2. Take the day off. Don't come into work today. That's basically what he told him. I'd be pissed if I'm Trey Lance. If I'm Trey Lance tomorrow, I'm coming in the office and say, hey, trade me, man. But Kyle did mention also in that interview today that he said that we're gonna do what's best for Trey. Whatever he wants, we're gonna own. We're gonna live up to that. So if Trey wants to trade, I think they're gonna offer that. And try to find a trade partner for him. And they have said, there's reports today that confirmed they're looking at all options. They've tried to trade him this offseason because I don't think they've been committed to him this whole offseason. We know Brock's the starter. There's no point debating that. They even asked Kyle. They said, was there a battle at QB1? He goes, I don't know why people are getting confused. There was never a battle for QB1. I named that multiple times. So the people that said Trey was going to come and steal QB1 spot, Kyle, he just shut that down. He says, no. So if you're Trey Lance, you knew that wasn't your spot. You weren't going to be starter unless something happened to Brock Purdy, right? He gets abducted by aliens, gets hurt or whatever. So he was competing for this QB2 spot, which that's the best case scenario for him right now for the 49ers, being the number 3 pick. At least you could be QB2. If there's an emergency, boom, you're that guy and you can prove yourself. It's unfortunate he didn't get that. So now if I'm Trey Lance, I'm like, look, I'm 23. I was number 3 pick. I want to start. I want to play in this league. And if I'm not worth it, if I'm not a good player, I need to know that and prove to myself. But I need an opportunity to go out there, play with as a starting quarterback. So I think Trey deserves that. I think he's going to ask for a trade. I mean, as a Niner fan, I would hate it because if he turns out to be something special and Kyle gives up on him and trades him, we're always going to look at, man, what if? So, tough situation to be in. And then, this is the coup de grace right here. Kyle Shanahan says he still plans to play Trey Lance on Friday. Oh, my God. If I'm Trey, I'm not even in the right mindset to play a game on Friday. But again, it is what it is. At least you go out there, you play with the chip on your shoulder, and maybe you go out there and ball out. But yeah, Kyle Shanahan says his plan is to play Trey Lance on Friday. Wow. Unbelievable. Let's take a look at some of your guys' comments. Let's see. Questions, comments. Here we go. Steven, he says, picking Darnold over investment. SMFH, yeah. Darren says, I'm late for the party. What's good? What's up, man? You just got here. We just barely started. Is he being traded? DJ, it's possible. They're looking at all options. They're looking to trade him. That's what Kyle said. He says he hopes that he can stick around, but obviously if Trey wants to be traded, he's not going to hold him back, basically, is what he says, right? Ryan says he hasn't had an opportunity. I feel like, again, Kyle gave him a small chance, and he got hurt, and he lost his job due to injuries. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of the vibe you get from Kyle is, well, he got hurt, and he lost his job because Brock Purdy came in, and he was amazing. And that's really what it is Brock Purdy came in, he made the most of his situation, and Trey Lance, because of injuries, he lost his job. And I think those injuries didn't sit well with Kyle. Again, my vibe, my whole take on this whole situation, and I could be wrong, I really feel that Trey was never 100% Kyle's guy. We know he was debating between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, but I really feel that he wanted, in his heart of hearts, Mac Jones, but it was hard for him to justify taking Mac at 3. They went up and traded. You got to have this spectacular high-ceiling pick, and Trey was the guy, but we all knew he needed more time, some seasoning. I feel like Lynch was the guy that ultimately made the call on that draft pick, but I could be wrong. Big Time says, how did they give him an opportunity? They've been trying to trade him this whole time. That's a good point, because if you say you were giving him an opportunity, but then you've been trading him behind the scenes, according to all these reports, it to me, it doesn't really fit that narrative that you're telling us that, yeah, we've given him a chance, but at the same time, we've been trying to trade him. And I'm sure you've talked to him. I'm sure you've sat there and said, hey, look, we're going to try to trade you. And they said this months ago during the draft. Remember, there was the draft talk. John Lynch said that they're trying to trade him. We're open to a trade. Trey Lance never really got a fair shake of it from the jump. They gave Jimmy Garoppolo so many chances. And no hate to Jimmy. I respect him. He helped change the culture. I get it. I got no animosity toward Jimmy, but I don't think Trey Lance really got a fair chance. That's my take. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Josh says now looking back at it, I don't think Trey was ever Kyle's choice in the draft. I agree. I just said it's 100%, Josh. I don't think looking back at it, using hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020. You get the vibe that Kyle, he didn't want Trey. I kind of feel that. So, RF says I feel bad for Trey, but Jed needs to have a talk with John and Kyle about the investment they made. Yeah, their drafts sometimes it's tough because it's like the most interesting team to draft players. 5th round picks, 6th round picks, 7th round picks, undrafted. Like they go crazy. We sit here and we're like, oh my God, Ronnie Bell, 7th round pick, D Winters, 5th round pick. He's gonna be a star. Hufunga, right? George Kittle, like all these late round guys. I mean, they can hit a few early picks. You're not gonna hit them all. Debo and Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk. But look at all the other Solomon Thomas, Mike McGlinchey, Reuben Foster, right? We've had some blunders. Jalen Hurd, Trey Sermon, Javon Keelan. Like, look at the blunders they've had early draft picks. It's not been a good track record. Or, it's when you look at how good these late round picks are compared to their first round picks overall, it's a crazy, it's a crazy like comparison. But I mean, they've hit on some early round picks. I'm not gonna say they didn't. Nick Bosa, but you can't miss with Nick Bosa. He was gonna be a star no matter what. So that was just a can't miss prospect. So, man, Red Eye says no team wants Trey, undeveloped QB, 4 games played, less than 500 record in 4 games played, freezes a lot, can't read defenses, can't slide. Who wants that? I mean, and that's the thing. He hasn't developed. He hasn't really showcased a good resume. Like, if we be honest with ourselves, Trey Lance's resume is not good. He's still a very young, raw. He's like a rookie quarterback. He's a project still to this day after 3 years. Who would trade him? That's where the question is now. Where would he go if there's a trade? Would it be Tampa Bay? Would it be Atlanta? Would it be Washington? Washington seems to be all in on their quarterback, the young guy, Howe. I don't know. There's not a lot of options. Denver, Miami, like who could salvage him and fix him? Maybe Miami. Because Mike McDaniel, he knows, Kyle Shanahan's offense. He could probably get the most out of Trey. And Miami's wheeling and dealing. They make moves no matter what. Maybe Miami. Maybe they circle back and they take Trey back from us. Because we traded our picks to Miami to move up. Could you imagine full circle? 49ers trade Trey Lance to Miami, the team that we traded all those draft picks to get Trey Lance in the first place, and then Miami Mike takes him, develops him, and makes him a stud. With that offense, Waddle and Tyreek Hill, that would be the story. The 30 for 30 on the 49ers quarterback situation is going to be a absolute blockbuster movie. It's going to be an absolute blockbuster movie. And maybe Mike McDaniel takes Trey Lance and fixes it. You never know. Wouldn't that be crazy? VZ says Aaron was right yesterday. He called it. We were here live. And we said Sam Darnold's probably going to be a quarterback 2. And we don't want to hear it, but he's probably going to be QB2. And what did I say? I said Kyle's going to use the fact that he said that you can rotate the quarterbacks to kind of soften the blow. And I feel like Trey Lance, it was the dagger in the heart and the blow that was provided to us, stabbed in the heart. And then Kyle says, well, we can still rotate the quarterback. So he might still be a QB2 eventually. But that's just to soften the blow to the fans. You got to give them something nice after you hit them hard in the chest. So it's a tough situation. Seattle, maybe get Geno Smith the backup. You know how Pete Carroll is. He can fix you. He made Geno Smith a relevant quarterback. Maybe Seattle. I don't think the 49ers would want to trade him into the same division though. So I think that would be a lower outcome overall, but it's a possibility. If Trey wants there and Kyle said, I'm going to do you right. Maybe. Yeah, Nathan says Seahawks and Raiders always get our former players. They do. They get the players that leave us. But I don't think he'll go to the Raiders. I think they really like Aiden O'Connell. Seattle definitely would be a team where I think he could succeed in. They have a great coach. They have a great team around him. Good young players. They develop well. But I don't think we trade into the division. Agent E says they gave up on Trey. I mean, it feels like it. You get that vibe that they kind of do. I don't know if they ever started on Trey. I don't know if they ever started on Trey. Like, did they give up? Because in order to give up on someone, you had to start on him. I just never feel like they started on him. That's my vibe. Minnesota, maybe Minnesota, right? That's his hometown. A lot of people say Minnesota because he's the Minnesota kid. Maybe you take him to Minnesota, but I feel like the Vikings are. They really like Kirk Cousins, but so does Kyle Shanahan. Maybe next year he brings Kirko back to the Niners. I don't know. We'll see. There's definitely teams that could use him, but I don't know how much we can get in return for him. So maybe a third round pick, maybe a fourth round, because again, as we said it up above, he's kind of this raw prospect that nobody really knows. We have a little bit of film on him, and the film that's out there, the media has ripped him apart. They've ripped him apart. Now you have to look for a coach that thinks they can fix him, like Kyle Shanahan thinks he can fix Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold says he can, or Kyle Shanahan says he can fix Sam Darnold. He can make him this is his next chance in the NFL. He just needs to find the right team and the right offense. And Kyle said this, right? He says it's like a Steve Young situation. Give him the right opportunity and he can succeed. Maybe there's a coach that thinks that with Trey, where, hey, man, Kyle messed up. I could take him. Look at this guy's skill set. I know I can use him in my offense. Interesting. Tommy says they're not trading Lance. You don't think they're trading Lance? You think Kyle doesn't want to? Even if Kyle doesn't want to, it's Trey now. Again, if the player requests a trade, you're going to have a disgruntled player. Why are you going to keep him on the roster? I think if Trey asks for a trade, they make the trade. Offensive lineman, they can get a defensive end. Now it gives them a little options, and then I feel like they might. And if it doesn't happen right away, mid-season trade. The Niners are notorious for mid-season trades, right? They did Christian McCaffrey. They done Emmanuel Sanders. They can make mid-season trades. So you never know. Flood, my man Flood says, moral of the story is the Niners, they effed up, he says. Should have done with Trey what they have done with Brock. Keeping Jimmy around was the nail in the coffin. That was tough, and we talked about that too. Like, they had to, when you drafted Trey, like, it was a tough decision. It definitely was a tough decision. But once you made that choice, you had to get rid of Jimmy. And it's not any hate on him, and it's not because I didn't, I'm not even going to sit here and talk about Jimmy and his abilities on this team. It's just the fact that you went and drafted this young man. You had to give him the keys at some point. But again, Kyle Shanahan brings up the point of the finger. And that finger, I think, that rookie season probably was the nail in the coffin. Because I think Kyle might have given him the keys. He didn't mess up that finger. But we'll never know. We'll never really know. But again, I think that year, as much as a tough decision it would have been, you had to pull the trigger. And I'm sure the locker room was like, what the heck is going on? Because it was weird when they drafted him, right? I'm sure everybody in the locker room was like, whoa, we got this young 20-year-old kid. We just had a Super Bowl run. We didn't make it. We didn't win it all, but we had this quarterback, Jimmy, who helped us get there. And the locker room loved him. I'm sure it was awkward for Trey then, and now it's still awkward for him 3 years later. I don't think he's really had a settled-in locker room. And then last year when he was supposed to be QB1, you keep Jimmy, even though you tried to trade him. And again, no disrespect. It was just a whole situation where Trey really never had that full vote of confidence. I don't think so. Well, we'll see. I got to pause real quick. I'll be right back. We'll take a 30-second break. I'll be right back. We're back. Sorry about that. So Kevin says, I'm late. What did Kyle Shanahan say about Trey Lance? So let's recap all the stuff that Kyle said today. So he basically said that this is one of the things he says. He says, we're not giving up on Trey. This is more of how Brock played in his 7 games and then how good Sam looked. He says that about 10 days ago, that's when Sam Darnold made the transition. He was the guy. He says that he talked to Trey Lance this morning. He brought him into his offense, and he told him, hey, Sam Darnold's the QB2. He says because of that conversation, he gave him the day off. He says, go clear your mind. And he also says that they gave Trey Lance a big chance to win the quarterback 2 spot. He says it was a very tough fight. He says in the long run, Sam ended up winning. And again, he goes back to the 10 days ago where he says Sam just really came out and he proved himself. And I think that was the preseason week 1. If you look back, I think that's where Kyle really started to look at Sam differently. It says, okay, he was efficient. He came out. He didn't make mistakes. He could run the offense. That's what I want from my backup quarterback. He wants a high floor, a guy that knows could come in and run the offense. With Trey, it's again, he needs to kind of get a little warmed up. He has to tune up the band a little bit, and I don't think he wants to wait for Trey to wait around. So that's one thing he said. And then the other thing he says was that he also said that Trey Lance is going to play this Friday. He expects Trey Lance to play this Friday, which is kind of crazy to me that he's going to play. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of everything. That Kyle broke the news to Trey. I'm sure he took it hard. He gave him some time to clear his mind. He still wants Trey to play, and he still says he wants Trey to be on this team. But right now, he's just not the quarterback, too, because Sam came out and he proved himself this offseason. I don't know. Pete says, he should have drafted Kyle Pitts. Z says no Parsons. Like, there's a lot of players the 49ers could have drafted if they didn't take Trey Lance. And I think that's where the fan base may be upset. A lot of fans are upset because the 49ers went all in on this quarterback, and now he's not going to play. And there was players that could add value to your team and help you win a Super Bowl. So I feel that frustration. And it's no hate on Trey. Again, I've supported the guy, and I've wanted him to succeed. Wearing the jersey. We got 5 on it, man. I don't know if anybody else is even wearing the Trey jersey. I got my boys back today. I feel bad for them. But at the same time, there was a lot of players, all pro players, that you passed up on for this guy. So you kind of feel like he had to play Trey, and he didn't really give him that opportunity at all times. So it's crazy. You went and traded for this guy. He passed up on numerous all pros, and now you're saying that Sam Darnold's better than him because he's the safe pick in Kyle's mind. He's the safe option. Crazy. Anthony says, I feel so bad for Trey. I do too, man. He they put him in an awkward situation from the jump. From the jump, he had a tough position, right? Josh says maybe he wants to play Trey this Friday to get a few more reps to get a better trade. I think that's a very fair take. I think that's definitely a very good possibility. Like, hey, we've made it known that he's on trade. I mean, although there were reports a couple months ago during the draft, and they said that they've been trying to trade him. But now it's like out there. It's out there. Your boy, RSF 49ers, we posted. Adam Show, Ian Rappaport, we all posted about it. It's out there. It's the talk of the town right now. And you're absolutely right. If Trey Lance goes out there and shines a little, his value goes up just a bit after Friday. Absolutely 100%. Because guess what's due on Tuesday? Roster cuts. Absolutely 100%. That's a great point, Josh. I think you're right on that. This is a great question. Tone says it really sucks for Trey. Yeah, it sucks for the whole team. And that brings me to Debbie's comment. She says, how does this drama affect the locker room? Like, you got to feel for this team, not just Trey, the whole team. They've been dealing with quarterback drama forever. Like, every time George Kittle gets on the microphone and he's at his press conference or an interview or he's on a podcast or whatever, the first question they ask this man is a quarterback question. Well, how's Brock? Well, how's Trey? How do you feel about Sam? And he says, listen, I'm not going to answer any more quarterback questions. I'm over it. And he said it many times. For 6 straight years in his career, he's played with a different quarterback every single year to start the season. Like, that's how it is. It's the reality of the situation. He hasn't had stability. I'm sure the players are tired of it. Like today, Javon Hargrave and Fred Warner, they went out in front of the media today, and they had to address the media. I get it. Kyle was on KNBR, so he gets a little bit of a pass, but he still should have came out. And addressed the media. I get it. He did his KNBR. He's hiding in a cave talking to KNBR. I still think he should have came out in front of the camera. That's just my opinion. And John Lynch, he also wasn't there. If you're the GM, you just made this big announcement. Your coach just made this announcement that you have this quarterback that you put all this assets in to be your franchise quarterback. You're going to trade him, and he's not even your second quarterback. You'd think the GM would want to come out and say something. That's all I'm going to say, right? I think he should have said something. But you got Fred Warner, and they asked. Of course they're going to ask him, right? Of course they're going to ask him. And he's like, I don't know, man. I love Trey. It's just, to me, it feels awkward for these players. I feel It's just awkward for these. If they want to go out there, win games, and win a Super Bowl, they don't care who the quarterback is. Honestly, I don't think the players technically do, because they're going to support their players. They know whoever's out there, they got to support and help to win a Super Bowl. But I feel like as a fan, obviously, we're like, dude, what the hell? And again, there's a tension between the fan base. This definitely divides us more for a lot of people. Fans are pissed. Fans are pissed at Trey. Fans are pissed at Brock. Fans are pissed at Sam. Fans are pissed at John Lynch. Fans are pissed at Kyle. Fans are pissed. We're pissed. Fans are pissed. I know you guys are pissed. Red Eye says Lynch is a wimp. I kind of agree with you on that. I think he should have came out. Red Eye, I think he should have came out. 100%. Put your nuts on the table. Put your nuts on the table, man. Just say, at least, say it with your chest. Say it with your chest in front of the media. Fans are pissed at me, VZ. They pissed at me. We're losing followers today. Z says, I ain't pissed. Trey fans, violent and racist. I think NFL fans in general, it doesn't have to be a specific player, but there's a lot of nasty fans out there. Oh, man. I don't know. That's just I think John Lynch should have came out and said something. Myth Vice says, I feel like I'm the only one who's okay with this. I have no ill will on the team. I want to see him succeed, but I feel like they just did Trey Lance dirty. I think overall, the whole situation has been handled weird. I mean, hey, I'm happy Brock Purdy's healthy. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to continue to help this team win. But I just think it's crazy for the locker room. They don't need all these distractions, man. And then on top of that, we still got Nick Bosa distraction. Nick Bosa hasn't signed yet. Nick Bosa he's signed, but he hasn't signed his extension. There's a lot of drama in the Bay. Never. A lot of drama in the Bay. Alex says, how about Lance for Chase Young, Scary Terry, 3 first rounds? I'm sure we would love that, but there's no way he has that much value. That's the problem, is how much value. What is the value? What is the value of Trey Lance right now? What do you guys think? What is the value of Trey Lance? Like at this point in his career, what is his value, right? Can't forget about Bosa. Yeah, Jeremiah, we got Bosa. There's a lot of distractions right now. Do I think it was a bad look for Trey not showing up to practice? Absolutely not. I don't blame him for not. It's like if your boss tells you, go clear your mind, because that's a big decision. If my boss would have came up to me and she says, hey, look, we went with Peter Yorker over there. I'm just making up names. It's the first name that came to my mind. We went with Peter Yorker there. He's going to be the supervisor over you. How do you're going to not really be in the best of minds? You're going to be mad because if you worked hard to get that job, that position, you're going to be a little pissed. So I don't think it's bad on Trey. I think that he needed it. Honestly, I'm glad that Kyle let him have the day off. It would have been distracting. Because you imagine Kyle's out there, all the cameras on him. The media would have been, oh, look, there's Trey Lance. The day he got put down to QB3, and then people would be scrutinizing him. I think it was good for Kyle to give him the day off. At least he gave him the day off. So I think that was what he needed to do. I think that was smart. I think that was what Trey needed. He did need to clear his mind. Because, again, I'm sure I would have been I think that would have been tough on Trey. I think that would have been tough on Trey for being out there. Again, it's going to be weird for him to play on Friday after all this, but that's the business. That's the NFL, right? It's the NFL. And it's unfortunately, it is a business, and you have to deal with these things. And then for Trey, Kyle doesn't believe he's better than Sam Darnold, which is crazy. But again, Sam's the safe pick. He knows how to run the offense, according to Kyle, and he picked it up quickly. I mean, if you really think about it, Sam did pick up the offense pretty quickly. Now, is he going to do anything flashy? Is he going to do anything great? No, we know what Sam Darnold is, but he's a safe pick. He's a veteran, and I think Kyle thinks he can turn him into something special. He could turn him into the best version of himself. And again, if Kyle makes Sam Darnold look great, he's going to laugh at everybody and say, ha, I was right, you were wrong. He's got the ego. But if he fails miserably. This is a gamble. He took a gamble when he drafted Trey. So his whole situation's been a gamble. But sometimes you got to make big moves, that people don't agree with all the time to, be successful. Sometimes it's not going to pay off. I hope this one pays off because this is crazy to me, but We'll see. At the end of the day, the team has to stay healthy because this team is still a Super Bowl contender. It's still one of the best teams. Brock Purdy was going to start regardless if Trey was QB2, QB3, QB80. Brock Purdy was still starting, so we still have the same starting quarterback. We still have the same team behind Brock Purdy. We just don't have Trey Lance as QB2. Shanny wants Kirk. I think he's always wanted Kirk. And I think this is a very, very good point. And I was talking to someone about this earlier today, is Trey doesn't fit in Kyle's system. And I think that is a big part of why he might not pick things up fast. Because he talked about today in that KNBR interview that how they asked him, why do you run Trey Lance up the middle? Because people thought that's why he gets hurt, because he uses him as a running back, And Kyle says that's a big part of his game. He likes doing that. We saw that in college. If you looked at him in college, his film, he was running the ball. I just don't think Kyle sees his fit in this scheme. After today's interview, 100% agree with that he doesn't see Trey fitting in the scheme, because Trey's a drop back quarterback. He can drop back. In college, he would sit back, shotgun, and throw the ball. He ran if he needed to, out of necessity. He needed to, if he had to escape. But Kyle sees him more of a run-first guy. And I think that's why he didn't take Justin Fields, because Justin Fields, 100%, is a running quarterback. Like, he's 100%, I'm going to run the ball, maybe throw on the run. That's not what Kyle wanted. Looking back, we look at everything, we kind of see how things pan out. I don't think he wanted Justin Fields because he's a run guy. And now he sees Trey Lance as, he can run the ball a lot. He can run the ball. And I think by saying that today, that 100% confirmed, I don't think he sees Trey as 100% fit in this offense. He needs a guy that can be the point guard, right? He can drop back, drop it to Debo, boom, drop back, quick read, drop it to Brandon Ayuk, boom, drop back, give it to Kittle, boom, drop back, give it to CMC. He wants a point guard that can distribute the ball to your playmakers. That's what he wants. Trey Lance is a little bit of a shooting guard. He can take a deep shot. He can pull up. He can go short. He can pull up, play the perimeter. He can do it all. But he needs a little seasoning to get it fine-tuned. He does a little too much for Kyle. Kyle doesn't want all the window dressing, all that. He doesn't want all that fancy schmancy. He wants to keep it simple, run his offense. And Sam Darnold is a safe guy, and he can do that. That's the vibe I get. So. Ryan says, what if they're tricking us and they trade Sam Darnold? That would be the ultimate, ruse. Are you kidding me? That would be crazy. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. Kevin says, I hate what's happening to Trey. TBH. Trey should ask for a trade. Yeah, 100%. I think if I'm Trey Lance, I ask for a trade immediately. Say, yo, Kyle, I saw it. I cleared my mind. I thought about it. I talked to my agent. Trade me. Send me out. Peace. Love you. I'm out. No hard feelings, but figure it out. Hope you do well. I'm going to go get my chance to succeed somewhere else. Trey Lance, definitely, he's 23 years old. He shouldn't be sat there. Free Trey Lance. Free Trey. Let him get a chance. I would trade him. If I'm Trey, I ask for a trade. And Kevin also agrees that it's obvious that Kyle's offensive scheme is not for mobile quarterbacks. 100%. There you go. You guys got it. Shit. Trade him. Ask for your trade. What's my info on Bosa? Same as it has been. He's waiting, patiently waiting. Free Trey Lance, baby. We get it trending tonight. Should I get it trending tonight? Free Trey Lance. Should we get it trending tonight? I know if I post that right now, it's getting trending. Free Trey. I feel bad for him, man. Josh says Trey will find a team that has the time to develop him. That's what he needs. He just needs a time that can develop him. And unfortunately, the 49ers, we're thinking about a Super Bowl. We don't have time to develop him. So. Kyle, see, this is the thing. And you have the most overrated coach. He's also the most overhated coach. He's a great offensive mind, but sometimes decision-making has been ho-hum. But it's not just Kyle. It's John Lynch and Kyle. It's a pair. It's a duo. They've made great decisions. They've also made poor decisions. Again, we talked about the top draft picks that have failed. But it's crazy. Through all of that, the man has taken this team to 3 NFC championships and a Super Bowl in that run. Can't get over the mountain. Now, is it bad coaching? Is it bad decisions? Is it injuries? There's a combination of everything. But definitely, some of the decisions they make are absolutely terrible. But there's a lot of coaches he's better than. I think that if he was to get fired, he'd be snatched up quick. He's not a horrible coach, but he's not the greatest coach in the world. He's good. I wouldn't say he's a crap coach, but he makes poor decisions, and sometimes his ego gets the best of him. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say I evaluate talent better than Kyle Shanahan. He's been in the game for many years. His dad was legendary, right, Mike Shanahan. If he says Sam Darnold's better, just got to sit back and see how this plays out. End of the season, if it fails, we can laugh at him. End of the season, if it pans out and looks great, we eat crow. So I'm not going to sit here and crap on someone because we got a whole season to go. We'll see how it goes. Definitely doesn't seem like a great decision right now, but we got to see how it all plays out. Oh, man. Ryan says he's the dumbest, smartest coach ever. That's a good way to put it. He's a dumb, smart coach. Yeah, see, this is the question. Who would they replace Kyle with? Like, everybody wants him fired. And again, I don't think he's made 100% great decisions. I've been critical. I think at times you're like, what the hell are you doing, Kyle? And he gets ahead of himself. He's got that ego, and it just takes over sometimes. But who's going to replace Kyle, right? So this guy, your roster has taken you there. But you had to get those players. You have to evaluate talent. Front office, coaches, they've gotten Kittle. They've gotten, players like Dre Greenlaw. You've gotten players like Talanoa Hufanga. They were late-round picks. So the roster that the 49ers had when they came in was poor. Lewis, they had some garbage players. It was not good. They took over a very bad roster. It takes time. So coaching staff, front office, they cultivated a solid roster. So, yes, the roster helped there, but the team has to put them in place, and that's the coach, the front office. So I think there's something in your mind that you're not understanding. Like, yeah, is Kyle Shanahan the greatest coach? No. But he did get a lot of these players over the years, and he's gotten the most out of them. George Kittle, again, that's one of the best picks that the Niners have ever had. Was a fifth-round pick. And he did help us get to where we need to be, but he was also drafted by this coaching staff and front office. And again, they've made blunders, but you've also had some amazing picks, and you're like, man, they even each other out, right? So. Bill Walsh, absolutely. He's the man. Bill Walsh is the GOAT. Adam Peters, my man Vladdy. Thank you, Adam Peters. Shout out to Adam Peters, man. I can't wait till he's the GM eventually. Adam Peters, man, saves the draft. He's the draft saver. When he comes in, he activates, save the draft mode, and he gets those late round gems, right? See, this is a good point. As mad as this makes me, at least the Band-Aid has been pulled off. Now they can move on. See, this is a good point, right? I think this is something that Smitty and I talked about this many times, that they got to pull the Band-Aid, and they never quite pulled the Band-Aid on Jimmy. I think if they would have pulled that Band-Aid and let Jimmy go when they didn't want him to initially, when he officially, when they officially traded Trey, and this was a tough decision. I think, again, looking back, I think they should have gave Trey that chance, and if he failed, he failed. I think Kyle wanted that safe route. He wanted that option. He wanted Jimmy to be there just in case. And I mean, it worked out if you really look at it. But I think at that point they had to pull the Band-Aid. Now, I don't think Kyle wanted to wait. Like, he waited and waited and waited. Because sometimes he just keeps these players. And you're like, dude, you got to do what you got to do. And I think this is Kyle saying, look, I learned from that. And now I'm just going to move on from this quarterback. As much as fans might not agree with it, I have to move on for myself. Because I've moved on with Brock Purdy. Now I have to move on and give Trey a chance, because I think what you said on the part and that comment is now both can move on. Absolutely. This gives Trey the opportunity to say, I want to be traded. Trade me, move on, clean slate. It sucks. Again, if you're a fan of the Niners, we've sat here, we've pulled for Trey, we've wanted him to succeed, but he does need a chance somewhere, that go to a team that's going to give him that opportunity. So, yeah, you pull the Band-Aid off, and now both parties can kind of go about their days. Again, it's a tough situation, but that's the business. It's going to have some tough decisions. They made tough decisions. Have some of them been right? Yes. Have some of them been wrong? Absolutely. DeForest Buckner? Absolutely. So, what team do you think would be a good fit for Trey? I think Miami, man. Send him to Miami. Go let Miami Mike fix him up, man. That'd be fun to see Miami. Tua, he's a concussion away from being done. Maybe you get Trey Lance in the cut. See what he can do with that offense. That offense is so fast. Oh, crazy. I think we get back a third round pick. I don't think you get more than third round pick. Maybe third and a late round pick. That's it. I think that's what you get. We'll see though. Unbelievable. Let's see. What do you guys think? Do you guys believe in Sam Darnold? Now I know you guys are gonna say no. I know that's the easy answer. But here's the thing: if Brock Purdy has to go on a hiatus, he gets hurt or abducted by aliens, whatever the case is, if Brock Purdy, misses some time and Sammy D has to come in, you think Sam Darnold can win games? You think he can win a playoff game with this 49ers offense? Like, that's where Kyle's mind is. Do you think Sam Darnold, imagine 49ers are in the playoffs, you're playing the Dallas Cowboys. Is this offense good enough? Is this defense? Because some of you guys say it's the players, it's the great team. Kyle's not a good coach, but we have a great team. Is Sam Darnold good enough to win, help this team win, and get us to the next point with this roster? You think Sam Darnold can win a game? That's what you have to. Now that's what the reality is. What do you think? Better than Josh Johnson? I mean, yeah, I think he would have been a better option last year. Rosa says yes. So that's where your head has to be at now. And it's tough to sit here and say, damn, we got to root for Sammy D, but that's the reality of the situation. I hope Trey goes to the Rams, says Global. Well, it would be crazy. I don't think he goes to any NFC West team. Balls out. I mean, wherever Trey goes, if he gets traded, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well. Honestly. I do. I want to see Jimmy do well this year. I want to see Jimmy win with the Raiders. Flood says Sam turns the ball over too much. Let's hope he doesn't. Danny O says Kevin Richardson, Jonathan Taylor for Lance. Right now, the 49ers couldn't even get Franco Harris. Kyle hates turnovers. He does. But he likes Sam and he can fix him, is what he thinks. I think he really thinks that he can fix Sam Darnold because his offense is amazing, is what he thinks. That's my point. That's where I think Kyle's head's at. Debbie says this team is good enough no matter who's under center. It wasn't good enough with Josh Johnson under center, that's for sure. Trade to Miami or Minnesota or Washington. I think those teams definitely make sense. Kyle loves Sam. He loves him, Nathan. He loves Sam Darnold. Oh, man. Kyle has never fixed any quarterback. But that's why he wants to be the guy that fixes Sam, because then he can say, told you so. It's again, a tough situation for this team heading into the last preseason game. I just wish there wasn't as much drama as there is. This quarterback position always takes over the wave, the media. It always takes over, the headlines. Like the 49ers and quarterback drama never stop. Like there's no way I even saw this coming. I'm sitting there today and I'm like, are you serious? I was like, are you kidding me? Like this? Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan literally said, hey, I haven't decided on who's QB2. We'll probably figure out the week before Pittsburgh. I mean, and today he flipped the switch. He switched up. It was a total 180 from yesterday. But if you watch that press conference yesterday, he really, really, really was so, what's the word I'm looking for? He was so eloquent in describing how Sam Darnold has come on the team. He's been glazing Sam Darnold. He really talked about how great Sam was since he's come in. He's learned the offense. He's shown a strong camp. His arm looks great. Like, he really was so happy about Sam Darnold. Every week when he's talked about Sam, if you really pay attention, he's really been liking this guy. And then Trey, it's just, oh yeah, he's coming off injury. He looks healthy. He looks better. He's working hard. Yeah, he needs more time. He can play better. I've talked to Trey. It's just like general statements, but it's with Sam Darnold. He's like, oh yeah, man, he's picked up this offense, and I want to see more out of Sam. He does. He loves Sam Darnold. He loves him. Supreme says traded the Vikings for JJ. There's no way. Danny O. Lance will be the third stringer for the Vikings next week. Wouldn't that be crazy? Sam Darnold. Sammy D. Big Time says Sam Darnold has 55 games of trash. I guess it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? And that's what Kyle Shanahan sees. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that's what Kyle's looking at. And I think that's the same mentality he has for Trey. He says, hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, but we're going to give him a chance to finish somewhere else. It's crazy to me. I don't know. Overall, I'm shook. I'm still surprised, but I mean, we should have saw it coming. If you really look back at everything, the writing was on the wall. I don't think we wanted to believe it. Fixer-upper. Yeah, James, he is a fixer-upper. Alex says, just bring me Kirko. Him and Debo are going to have everybody tucking their chains. I'm sure Kyle would love to have Kirk Cousins. Kyle is low-key, two-faced. It's a weird guy. He's a fun guy. Can we afford to start slow this year, says VZ? No, and that's why he's got to go with the way he's got to go. And that's why I said I think he wants the safe route. He can't sit there and wait on Trey to develop. If anything happens with Brock, he knows that Sam's a safe guy. Like, you know what you're going to get. He knows he can, like, pick up the offense and distribute the ball. So I think that's what it comes down to is Trey's definitely a guy that needs a little bit of time. And if we end up to the point where we have to use him, I don't think Kyle feels confident enough to trust him because you can't lose games this year. You can't, have some off games. You can't start slow. You got to get that number one seed. At 100%, you have to get the number one seed. And I think that's where, ultimately, that's where Kyle's mind is. That's it. Josh says maybe Trey realized after Kyle's press conference speaking so highly of Sam, he knew he already lost the QB spot. I don't know. I think in the next couple of days we'll hear that Trey Lance has asked for a trade. I definitely feel like it's coming. I feel like it's brewing. I want to see Trey Lance talk to the media on Friday. I'm sure he's going to be in a tough space mentally, but I need to hear him talk. I want to see where his head's at, and I do think that Trey's going to ask for a trade. My take right now, coming into this following week, Trey Lance is going to ask for a trade, 100%. I would be surprised if he doesn't. If I'm Trey Lance, I'm doing it. I'm talking to my agent right now, and I'm saying, hey, where are we going? Where are we going? I would like to put it. I don't want to put a percentage on it, but if I had to, I'd be like 90% sure that Trey Lance would ask for a trade this week. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. VZ says, I hope we get Bosa news before Trey news. Respectfully, I think we all do. We need Bosa news to kind of fix this, to soften the blow. Like, I think Bosa news would make all this a little bit easier to deal with. I think that's the other problem of why we're so frustrated as Niner fans. Obviously, we've supported Trey, and this is kind of big news because you're basically saying you gave up on a guy you traded all these assets for. I think we're also upset because we're waiting for Bosa, and you can't sign the man for whatever reason. You're saying, oh, we knew it was going to take this long. What do you mean you knew? Just sign the guy. Just give him his extension. Traded the Chargers for Bosa. Do it. Can we just pay Nick Bosa? Can we just do it? Can we do it? Can we get the Niner? Can we just get the notification? Can I just go on my phone and say, oh, look, Nick Bosa. That's what we need. Tough day, tough sledding, tough day for the Bay, tough day for Trey. But the Niners still have a Super Bowl roster. Let's see how it pans out. Oh, man. Let's do 2 more questions. I'm going to bounce out, make some dinner. And then we'll be back. Yeah, Kevin, I think so too. I think 100% Trey's going to play game 3, and if he's anybody, if he's a gamer, I think he's going to come out and play the game of his life. If I'm Trey Lance, I'm going to try to play the game of my life. It's going to be tough for him mentally. He's put him in a tough spot. I think Kyle's put him in an absolutely tough spot. But if I'm Trey, man, I'm going to come out, block all the noise, and I'm going to play the best football that I can play because I'm going to ask for a trade, and then I'm going to showcase myself on Friday night. That's where, if I'm Trey Lance, that's it for me. What's for dinner? I think we're going to make pizza tonight. Trade everybody. Chargers, Niners, let's go. It's going to be weird seeing Trey in there. It's going to be weird. I'm going to give him a standing O. Standing O when he comes in. I'll get the video. I'll be at the game. I'll get the video of everybody. I guarantee he's going to get a standing O. Trey's going to get a standing O. Get the video. We'll post it. And it's going to be nice to see the fans giving Trey some support. It's going to be great. It's going to be a nice moment for Trey. I remember, so crazy I just said that, because I remember when Alex Smith, when he played his final moments at Candlestick when he was on the Niners. And I remember I was there, standing y'all. He came in, he was backup. He came in relief. We played the Cardinals. Game was pretty much well and done. Fourth quarter comes in. Alex comes. I mean, standing up. Fans were fucking like, let's go, Alex. They sent them off on a good note. And it was the last time took a snap for the 49ers. It was sad. It was bittersweet. But I think that's what's going to happen this week. It's going to be the same situation. It's going to be crazy because I saw Alex Smith's last snaps as a Niner, and now I might be seeing the last snaps of Trey Lance as a Niner live. And it's going to be a standing ovation. Crazy. Well, at least I'll be clapping for the man. I don't know about everybody else in attendance, but I'm going to be hyped up for Trey. I'm going to say, let's go. This is what I'm going to do. But Tracker says everyone that's saying trade, everyone is insane. I don't think it's insane. I mean, if you're Trey Lance and your team just told you that you're not the backup, what are you going to do, sit on the bench? No, you want to play football. You want to start somewhere. I'm asking for a trade. I don't think I would trade him. I'm not saying that the fans want to trade him. I think at this point, why would you waste your time on a roster? Trade me. Go get something for me. Trade me. Fuck, man. Trey doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve to sit on a bench. He's drafted number 3. He deserves a chance to play. Trade me. If I'm Trey Lance, I ask for a trade. I don't think it's crazy. Everyone in New England boos Mac, chants Zappy. Yeah, the writing's on the wall over there. They'll probably have Zappy playing eventually. But yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. It's crazy how this happened today. James says Aiden O'Connell, Trey Lance better than Trey Lance. Aiden O'Connell looks like a quarterback, but he's played a lot in the NFL, in NCAA, man. But one thing you got to remember is Kyle says it doesn't mean that Trey's days with the Niners are over, because they're going to look for a trade. If they can't trade him, he's sticking around, and he's going to get that opportunity eventually. If there's a quarterback that goes down, Trey's going to get an opportunity, but it has to happen like last year. He's like their last ditch effort. It's kind of sad, right? But Kyle basically said today, doesn't mean that he's necessarily done with the Niners. It basically hinges on, can they get an offer for Trey Lance? If they can't get an offer for Trey Lance, hey, then he stays, but he's going to be QB3. But I think right now, I think Trey will ask for a trade, and I definitely think he will get traded. And you have 3 quarterbacks. This is my final take on it. So I think we're going to have Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Brandon Allen being our 3 QBs. 49ers will trade Trey and get something in return. That's what I think is going to happen. But again, Kyle did say there's a chance where Trey stays, and that is based on if a team doesn't give us the value that we want, then he stays. Then he stays, and it's going to be weird. Josh says this is definitely a possibility. What if Lynch is trying to get rid of Trey, since it looks like Trey was Lynch guy in the draft? I mean, maybe Lynch wants to give him that, that fair role, because he knows Kyle's not going to give him one. But honestly, I think this is Kyle's decision. I think Lynch was the guy that made the pick. Like I said, I think he's the guy that wanted Lance. But I think Kyle came to him and says, "Look, man, it doesn't fit my system. Let's make a move." I think this was more a Kyle move. Just feels like it's a Kyle move to me. Whew. There we go. Drew says, "I'm ready to rant. Rant it out. I got a few more minutes. I'm starving." The worst. Kinlaw, Trey, Sermon. Kinlaw, that's tough, man. They traded away DeForest Buckner, and they thought they were going to replace him. Didn't happen. Trey Sermon, that was a wild pick. And Dante Pettis wasn't a great pick. Solomon Thomas. Early round picks have not been it for the 49ers. Ryan says, it's unreal how the 49ers effed him over. It's pretty tough, man. I mean, it sucks that he got hurt too, but I mean, you lose your job to injury. That's cold world, man. But again, you can't take anything away from Brock, man. He earned it. He did nothing wrong. It's a tough situation overall. Raj for 49er Scout. No, man, we got Adam Peters. He's the man. Drew says, I want to rant, but at this point, it's so tiring. Kyle finally has his guy. his real deal QB. It's time to win with the ring or fire. No more excuses. Absolutely, Drew. At this point, if this is the guy that you're putting all your chips in 100%, you've given him the starting job from the offseason. Like, there was no drama. There was no, well, there was drama because it's 49ers Twitter. There was no debate in Kyle Shanahan's mind. He knew that was his quarterback from the offseason, from the start. And the fact that you've named him, you've done this 100%, I agree. You finally has his guy. He has his guy. He needs to take this team to the Super Bowl. Like, this is the Super Bowl or bust. To me, it's Super Bowl or bust, 100%. Mario says quad box later tonight. Yeah, let me go get some lunch or some dinner. I'm absolutely starving. My daughter needs to eat some dinner too. She's probably like pissed off at me. You guys have a good rest of your night. We'll be live shortly. I love you. I appreciate you. I love you too, you guys. Thanks, Josh. Everybody else in the comments, make sure you hit that like button. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back soon. I've been wanting to talk about this all day. I was stuck at work. I was like frustrated, man. But anyways, we're live. We're gonna talk about it. See you soon. And we'll talk more on Instagram. I'm gonna get the quad box fired up.